Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're going to be taking a look at Iris.Fall on the Nintendo Switch. It's the latest puzzle adventure to reach the Nintendo Switch library, but is this one worth your time, or is this one, best reserved for the most hardened of puzzle fans? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and let's get started. It's a story and it's going to be quick. I can't really say a lot. With just a few minor sentences, I could honestly spoil the entire narrative, so I'm going to focus basically on just the setup. You awake alone in a place with no explanation, a desolate kind of and run-down location for sure. A shadow figure appears similar to you but disconnected, and then a black cat in both physical and shadow form. These characters, they will almost be your guides. Follow them and uncover the mystery along the way. I'll leave it there, but I will say it's a wordless tale, and one that is for sure up for interpretation. I wouldn't say it was particularly amazing or satisfying as conclusions go, honestly, but it did give me a purpose just to push things from one location to the next. So gameplay on Iris.Fall, it's all built around puzzles and shadow forms in particular. The core concept can be summed up as move from room to room with each containing a puzzle to solve. Yes, you will have full movement over controls, but they are for sure not particularly strong, and I'd even go as far as saying sluggish. The movement's fine, honestly. It's more inventory management. The bag you see in the lower right of the screen, it contains items, but opening this and selecting something always came with like this second or so delay that I've got to say at times did test my patience. Puzzles, though, they are what you are going to be coming here for, and they range from think like simple pattern matching to rotating and twisting items within the world. So think a huge Rubik's Cube, or maybe a movable staircase to connect real world objects and shadows. These shadow locations a separate reality, and you have the ability to transfer between the two. It does lead to some creativity on show. All you need to do that transfer an open book on the ground, and these are going to be scattered around this world. When shadows do come into play though, and you're jumping between these two forms, it's by far the most interesting moments in the game, and that's a good thing, honestly, given the fact the game actually, its own description leans into this just so heavily, saying it's basically a game focused on this. Where Iris.Fall though stumbles for me outside of the responsiveness of those controls, it's the difficulty. It's a little too easy, and when I did find a challenge, it so often felt like a design issue, or just simply that the game was getting way too obscure. The main issue I found with puzzles, it was the controls at times as you're navigating these clickable areas on screen. It's just got somewhat a temperamental reaction, and then the fixed camera angle, it just doesn't quite work with some of the more 3D moments. These moments though, they resulted in little more than just trial and error rather than, sheer brain power. I think trailers and all marketing that almost suggest a 3D platformer kind of puzzle hybrid, and I want to set expectations here. It's all super slow. Our young hero just walks nearly everywhere, and yeah, there's really no controls outside of like movement or interaction. Don't think there's a jump or sprint or anything like that. It's not a bad thing, honestly, just more a me setting expectations. Puzzles are not only the core of the experience, but clearly where all the design effort went. When I said this one is easy though, I'm talking I beat this in just under 2 hours, a short time given the price point. Now naturally my 2 hours could be your 5, but I also checked it out on YouTube, and there is playthroughs as low as 1 hour. Overall, it's not a bad game. In fact, I enjoyed it. It was just kind of over a lot quicker than I expected. The controls then, they leave a lot to be desired, and generally with the puzzle focus I would have liked a little more challenge, but not in the obscure way. The freedom of movement was a nice touch. I just wish it didn't hold my hand the entire way. The game basically highlights everything you need to interact with. It devolved what could have been natural kind of curiosity and exploration into, move from point A to point B. One thing I will give the game though, it never loses that wow factor when it comes to that ability to transfer into a shadow form. So I guess at a very core level, it absolutely succeeded in delivering what it set out to. I just also see a lot of missed potential. So visually stunning, presented for the most part in black and white. Graphically, it just did not disappoint. Going in, I kind of had this fear of maybe pixelation or potentially losing that sharpness I'd seen in so much promotional material, but for the most part I'm happy to say that is not the case. It's seriously strong optimization with a few minor moments of weakness here and there, but they don't take away from the experience at all. Playing into the idea of a light and shadow world though, the style for sure works, and it allows for some interesting moments and puzzles. While the lack of colour at times I will say can create almost a lack of depth to the image for some of the puzzles, I was still nearly always impressed from location to location, that is going for both handheld and docked. The only other issue I really faced at some points, not recognising some of the interactable prompts on screen as they did start to blend into the world just slightly. The only other thing then, the animation, it was good for the most part, but it almost felt like there was a stutter at points. It wasn't frame rate, but just a byproduct of the design decisions. Overall though, look, visually really impressed. A great looking game that always surprised me with some seriously just unique and incredible environments. Audio finally, and while there is music at points, it's kind of mostly like ominous tones if anything. There's the occasional piano piece or song, and I gotta say at the end the closing credits absolutely stunning, but the music is not the focus. This is a bold move. They rely basically on natural ambience of these locations. Gotta say kudos for some strong work here. It absolutely delivered. Nearly everything has a related sound and it all plays into that sense of loneliness in this black and white world. I played with headphones for a good portion, and overall I was just impressed with the mix, and I was surprised at what lengths they went to fill out this sound field. So overall, this was a little quicker review than I'm normally doing on the channel, but that was to avoid risk of spoilers. But honestly, as I said, look, not a huge amount to it. Also, move from location to location, solve a puzzle and progress. The world is stunning to look at, as is simply enjoying that sound design, but sadly this one does fall short where it counts most, and that is the gameplay. Whether that's the sluggish controls, the simplicity of the puzzles, or the fact it holds your hand just a little bit too much, and this kind of results in a realization you really have no desire to get out there now and explore. For me, look, sacrifice the obscure moments for actual challenge, develop the story just a tiny bit more, and then drop the whole highlighting of interactable items thing that's going on. You know, I promise you that would result in two things: one, more challenge, and two, satisfaction of overcoming something in my way rather than just feeling like I was kind of following a bread trail on screen. Look, overall, puzzle fans, you should absolutely check this out. I've complained quite a bit today, but it still absolutely deserves a look. I'm just not sure if it's going to be worth a look at this price point. I have just very little desire now to head back into this world, and I'm not sure a couple of hours of gameplay is going to be enough justification to pull out the credit card. Today I'm going to be giving Iris.Fall a slightly above average 6 out of 10, and honestly, you can thank the incredible art direction for pulling it just about above average. Will you be adding this one to the collection though, or does, you know, that runtime and the simplicity of it all simply put you off? With that then, like, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.